Hey guys, OG Albina here, bringing you guys my UPBA Week 1 battle against JB Westside, his Arkansas Razorwinds, I want to say. Is that the name of the team? I don't want to butcher this already. Yeah, Razorwinds. But yeah, if you guys are hyped for the season like I am, be sure to subscribe just so you can catch our battles as they go up every weekend. And yeah, with that being said, let's just jump right into the video. I am going to do a quick little team builder, like I do before all my league battles if you are new, just so you can kind of see my thought process behind why I'm bringing this up and bringing EV spreads, all that stuff. So yeah, if you guys have not caught our draft analysis yet, I definitely recommend you do. I'll probably put a link in the description for that. But just in case you haven't yet and you want to, just catch us, our team consists of the Aegislash, Mega Gallade, Suicune, Sylveon, Decidueye, Diggersby, Aerodactyl, Hydreigon, Garbodor, and Combuskin. Well, with our Z users being, I believe it's Hydreigon and Decidueye. While our opponent's team consists of the Tapu Koko, Latios, Ferrothorn, Hawlucha, Arcanine, Snorlax, Swampert, Cofagrigus, Cryogonal, Mega Absol, and Gothorita, with the Z users being Tapu Koko, Cryogonal, and Gothorita. So yeah, right off the bat, biggest threats, definitely one of those being the Tapu Koko. Tapu Koko is scary against absolutely any team. And my answers definitely are very limited to it. It can kind of just click dual stabs and kind of just claim kills, to a KO. Pretty much a good majority of my team if we don't build correctly, which can definitely be scary if he's like Calm Mind. And is one of the Z users, I definitely expect Z Tapu Koko. I don't see the need for another item. I think Therium or, Electrium are both very, very nice versus me. The Latios can be a bit scary if we let some of our checks get whittled down, but I'm not as scared of that. The Hawlucha can definitely get scary if we let our one check get worn down, but we do have a very, very good check for Hawlucha. Probably one of the best in the format if it is allowed. You can probably see it on the screen, but I'll get into that in a second. And then the Mega Absol can definitely be a pretty scary mon if we do allow it to set up, or just, with the right coverage, things move pulls really wide, so we can definitely scare us. And it's one of the few things that really threatens our first member, which is going to be our Aegislash right here. We're rocking out with the leftovers. Stance change ability, obviously. King Shield, Shadow Ball, Sacred Sword, Shadow Sneak. 252 HP, 68 attack, 140 defense, 36 special attack, and 12 SPDF with a relaxed nature. So there's a lot of EVs everywhere right here, and I'm going to try and kind of explain them all. They all do have a purpose. They're not just there to look cool, as cool as it does look. But this is going to be our Hawlucha check. With 140 with a relaxed nature, 140 defense and max HP with a relaxed nature, we're never 3 KO'd by an Adamant Lucha Throat Chop, which is pretty nuts. That is super effective coverage from a pretty strong mon. Actually can't even 3-hit KO us. That's even without our leftovers. So the fact that we eat that so well is absolutely amazing. We can take multiple rock switch and still level +2 throat chop. I'm specifically prepping for that throat chop because I think it's very, very good versus me. One, it gives him something to hit the Aegislash, which kind of hard balls Lucha otherwise. And two, it actually turns a typical pixely hyper voice Sylveon into complete setup fodder. So we'll get into that later when we get to that point, because spoiler, Sylveon is on the team. But yeah, I did want to, just make sure I was ready for that, because, if I was just prepping for dual staff, I honestly wouldn't need anything, any investment at all. So the 140 investment allows me to do that. I think we take like 65% max from a +2 throat chop. We 2-hit KO a max HP, Hawlucha with a Shadow Ball 100% of the time, unless he's like max SPDF or something like that. So the 12 SPDF on our Aegislash also allows us to avoid a 2-hit KO from Latios after rocks from like Shadow Ball or something like that. That's not Life Orb or anything like that, but it allows us to live it nonetheless, and we can definitely revenge that thing with Shadow Ball or Shadow Ball into Shadow Sneak, something like that. So this is a good failsafe versus that. In the attack investment, the 68 attack investment allows us to always 2-hit KO things like Snorlax, just so that Curselax doesn't get out of hand. Sacred Sword is nice because it does ignore stat boosts and stuff like that from the Snorlax, so we can always come in and kind of Sacred Sword that thing, which is very nice. As long as we get to around 50%, we can potentially, revenge and knock that thing out. We are a relaxed nature, but I made sure not to go zero IVs in the stat, because I do want to still outpace his base 30s, being the Cofagrigus, the Ferrothorn, and the Snorlax, because this is a good way of, you know, potentially knocking them out, coming in, having a way to revenge all three of those there with, you know, Shadow Sneak, and Shadow Ball for those guys. But yeah, Aegislash is honestly really, really good this game. His team has a lot of trouble breaking it. Outside of the Absol, nothing just straight up just runs through Aegislash, besides maybe like a +1 Z move from Tapu Koko, or you know, just a Z move in general for a pretty chip that can break through us a little bit. But the lefties in conjunction with, you know, King's Shield obviously gives us a great way of, you know, getting some health back up. So yeah, that's going to be Aegislash, definitely a very important member this week. Next up, we have our Diggersby with the Assault Vest, huge power ability, Earthquake, U-Turn, Frustration, and Fire Punch, 116 HP, 252 attack, and 140 speed with an Adamant nature. So this is going to be our Tapu Koko check. We're actually, you know, I said we were pretty weak to it. If we were just bring, like, you know, Scarf Diggersby or more offensive, we could actually, you know, get pretty chunked by Tapu Koko. We're actually never 3-hit KO'd with 116 HP. We're never 3-hit KO'd by HP Ice after rocks from a, you know, a timid Tapu Koko that's, you know, not Life Orb or boosted or anything like that. So we check it very, very well, and we can always knock the thing out with an Earthquake, you know, click Frustration if we think he's shook and he's in range of the Frustration, because it's still doing a huge chunk to his team. He doesn't really switch into Diggersby well at all. He has the Cofagrigus, which doesn't want to take an Earthquake, and he has the Lucha switch into the Earthquake, but that, you know, forces him to proc his Electric Seed maybe earlier than he wants, and we can kind of just click Frustration. And then Fire Punch obviously is for the Ferrothorn. The speed investment we're running enough speed for no speed investment Arcanine, just to potentially outspeed that. If that comes, I definitely think it's going to be defensive. I don't think offensive has a great place in this matchup. But, you know, so if he's running absolutely none, we do outspeed it. He might be running a little bit just to creep some of our slower stuff and all that stuff. But, yeah, that's going to be Diggersby. It actually just happened that they left over after 116, 140. That was when I was hitting by myself, and I was like, oh, I'll just throw the rest to an attack, and it actually happened to just be the 252, which is awesome because, you know, it lets us maximize our attack. But yeah, that's going to be Diggersby, definitely a very important member, just so we can check that Tapu Koko. And yeah. So next up, we have our Gallade, rocking out with the Drain Punch, Zen Headbutt, Substitute, and Knockoff, 252 attack, Force for Death, and 252 speed with a Jolly Nature. His team really doesn't appreciate switching into Gallade whatsoever. His whole team takes a huge chunk from it, and if we can force him switching and get up a sub, like I say, we force a switch out on the Ferrothorn or the Snorlax or something like that, or him not wanting to risk a speed tie with his Latios or anything like that, we honestly can just kind of, or even the Cryogonal if it comes, because his hazard removal is pretty limited on this team. We can kind of just at least claim, you know, at least claim one, especially if the Cofagrigus is chipped. I definitely expect it to come just to kind of check the Mega Gallade, which is his, you know, best check for it. But if we can get behind a sub and knock off, get a couple knockoffs on that thing before it's able to break our sub, it's going to be super, super chipped. Obviously, no reliable recovery is great, and we have some things to punish Cofagrigus in the back. So, Mega Gallade is very, very nice as a breaker in this game. Sub, and then Drain Punch over close combat, just so we can get a little bit of health back over time. Like, say, you know, on, like, you know, Snorlax, if we're able to knock it out with Drain Punch, we're going to get pretty much all of our HP back, which is super cool. And yeah, so that's going to be Mega Gallade. Next up, we have our Aerodactyl, rocking out with the Focus Sash and Unnerve ability, Stealth Rock, Taunt, Stone Edge, and Earthquake, 252 HP, Force for Death, and 252 speed with a Jolly Nature. So this is pretty much going to be our designated lead 150% of the time. Like I was just saying a second ago, his hazard removal is pretty limited. He has the Koko, which doesn't want to run Defog. He has the Latios, which doesn't want to run Defog, especially against my team. I feel like it needs pretty much all of its slots for coverage in order to hit my team well, and needs to, you know, have recovery, calm mind, stuff like that, or if it might be scarfed or something of the, you know, something of the sorts. So I definitely don't think Latios is a very viable defogger in this game. He has Mega Absol to bounce hazards back, but it doesn't like switching in on things necessarily. It is, you know, a big risk because the thing is so frail. It takes a huge chunk. So if we can catch him on that, you know, hit it with a Stone Edge or an Earthquake, it's going to be great for us, you know, in the long term of things. And the Cryogonal is also a Rapid Spinner that he has on his team. I don't think Cryogonal matches up the best versus me, but I think he definitely might bring it just to have that removal option, because rocks can definitely be a hindrance for certain things on his team, but we obviously beat the Cryogonal 1v1. As long as it's not Scarf, we can always revenge that thing with with a Stone Edge, which is great. We're rocking Taunt just for his likely leads in case he wants to hazard stack guys with stuff like the Ferrothorn, T-Spike's Cofagrigus, you know, the the Swampert getting a rock, stuff like that. So we can pretty much guarantee get up our rocks turn 1 and kind of go from there and slowly chip his team around, because I do think we force a lot of switches on this team. If we can slowly chip things down, it's going to be great for, our end games. But yeah, so that's going to be our Aerodactyl right there. We're rocking max speed just to speed tie with the Tapu Koko. If I'm running focus, that's just going to be my lead, and he ends up going that, and he wants to click T-Bolt. If I can, potentially save my sash and knock the thing out with an Earthquake or do a huge chunk to it, and, potentially speed time the next turn when I'm on my thing, and when I'm on my focus sash and knock him out, that would be absolutely amazing, because like I said, Koko is a huge threat to my team, probably the biggest threat on this team to me. So yeah. Next up, we have our Hydreigon right here with the Choice Scarf and the Levitate ability, Dark Pulse, Draco Meteor, Earth Power, and U-Turn, whoops, 124 HP, 4 defense, 252 special attack, 4 Spadef, 124 speed with a modest nature. So this is a great form of speed control in this game. His team doesn't really deal with a Hydreigon very, very well at all, in all honesty. His speed tiers allow me to go modest since I'm Scarf. I think all of his likely Scarfers will either outspeed me or are outspeed by this. Our speed with 124 modest actually allows us to outspeed a max speed Tapu Koko. As long as we do obviously have our Scarf. This is great late game depending on what's left. If we can chip the Tapu Koko down, namely, and we can get rid of the KokoLucha, which I definitely think is possible because we do have, such a great check in the in our Aegislash, we can really pretty easily spam Dark Pulse in the end, as long as things like his frailer resists are weakened, like the Tapu Koko, like the Absol. That's definitely going to be an endgame I'm kind of shooting for here, is being able to beat that thing, beat him down with the Hydreigon, because I think it's great here. Draco Meteor is just, nice and spammable if I think, if I'm in 1v1 versus something that does resist Arc, and I can just, throw off the Draco Meteor on Absol trying to play rough me or something like that. Definitely very, very valuable. Or just to have a nice one-turn nuke on pretty much anything that's not named Tapu Koko or Ferrothorn. I did want to go Fire Blast over Earth Power to hit the Ferrothorn, but I figured the rest of my team dealt with it well. I figured I could chip down with pretty much everything. My Aegislash has coverage, my Diggers being my Gallade has coverage, and my last one has coverage as well. So I figured having Earth Power for that Tapu Koko to, prevent that thing with just a tiny bit of chip. I think it's like one Rock Switch and dies to Earth Power, unless he's pretty bulky or he's Shuka. But I'm not really expecting Shuka this game, in all honesty. He can't really, lower my Diggers Bee and knock it out one hit, if he is a Sugar Berry set. So, yeah, that's going to be Hydreigon. I definitely think he can put in a lot of work this week if we do chip things down sufficiently. And, we can kind of spam one of our stabs and win the game. So, lastly, we are going to have our Sylveon with leftovers Cute Charm ability. Wish, Protect, Moonblast, Hidden Power Fire, 248 HP, 128 defense, and 132 Spadef with a bold nature. So the 132 Spadef allows us to take 2 Tapu Koko Thunderbolts, I believe, after rocks, if he's not boosted, which is very, very nice. This serves as a great Mega Absol check. It serves as a great Hawlucha check. Now, you see Cute Charm, which looks a little funny because obviously, Pixelate Hyperverse hits so much harder. It's actually pretty good versus his team. Other than Ferrothorn, he doesn't really have the best, fairy resist, and we could hit things pretty hard with that. But like I said, I very much so expect the Throat Chop Hawlucha to come. And while I do have Aegislash, if that thing just gets chipped, because it is so good against other things, it's probably going to be in the game, checking other things before the Hawlucha comes in, unless, the Hawlucha comes in very early game. I don't want to leave my Sylveon to be potential setup fodder and then lose to the Hawlucha. If he gets up to, say, he Throat Chops my Sylveon and I'm in, as I try and Hyper Voice him. Then he Sword Stances on my Switch, then he Sword Stances on my Aegislash as I, go for the Shadow Ball. He can potentially knock me out with +4 Throat Chop, which is terrifying because obviously then I'm going to get run through by a +4 Hawlucha. I lose the game right there. So I would rather, sacrifice like 10% of damage, and have Moonblast over the Hyper Voice just to avoid that, scenario entirely, which, is very likely in my opinion. My opponent's a good player, so I definitely expect them to kind of think of that and prep. And then we also have Hidden Power Fire just to hit the Ferrothorn. If it's a little bit chipped, we can definitely knock it out with that. 4 times effective. It's going to do a big chunk even if we're not very invested. But yeah, with that being said, let's just jump right into the battle. Alright guys, here we are with the battle. So looking at the opponent, the team my opponent decided to bring, whoops. Looks like he went with the Swampert, the Ferrothorn, the Tapu Koko, Mega Absol, Arcanine, and KokoLucha. So nothing super unexpected, other than the Cofagrigus not coming. That definitely did surprise me. I definitely see why it didn't come, because I do have a couple things that definitely punish that coming, such as the Hydreigon and the Aegislash. But I figured it was a really good check to both my Mega Gallade and my Diggersby, which are very good versus the team he brought, as you can see. So I figured that they would come, but you know, not too big of a deal. I definitely see why not. He definitely pressures those things offensively. Definitely the Mega Gallade, at least, if that is played off Absol, which I definitely expect. KokoLucha definitely scares it, as well as the Tapu Koko. But yeah, with that being said, I am just going to lead off with my Mega Aerodactyl. Let's just jump right in. I do elect to lead off with my Mega Aerodactyl just because it guarantees me rocks, and looking at his team, unless he's defogged Tapu Koko, or he leads off with Mega Absol, I get my rocks up and they pretty much stay up, which is very nice for the Arcanine. It's very nice for, you know, Koko if he wants to pivot in and out and stuff like that. As we see, he does end up leading off with the Swampert. So we are pretty much guaranteed to get up our rocks right here, which is very nice, unless he goes hard into the Mega Absol on this turn, because you're going to see turn 1, I'm going to throw off a taunt just in case he wants to get up his rocks right here. He definitely could scald me or something like that, but I'm totally fine with letting my arrow go down very early. Its whole job is to literally just get up stealth rocks and then pretty much die. So our arrow is going to take the scald. He makes a good play, you know, expecting the taunt, which is fine, as we do get burned, which is, again, totally fine because he is forced to attack us right here, and we are just going to go for our stealth rocks, get those guys up, you know, to stay up most likely the entire game, unless, like I said, he is the defog Tapu Koko, which is honestly easier on my end, because then he doesn't have a coverage move, he doesn't have Roost, he doesn't have, like, U-turn, something like that. So it just makes a better move slots on me. So arrow is going to go down, unfortunately. And right here, I'm going to go into my Hydreigon. Unfortunately, on this team that I built, I don't really have anything that really, like, Oko Swampert really scares it. So I'm going to go in right here, and I'm going to throw off Dark Pulses, as this thing can't really, like, hurt me too bad. As he's going to throw off a Scald right here and do pretty much next to nothing. I assume fishing for the burn, which is, you know, a very viable play. He doesn't switch into this thing very well, and if I went for a turn 1 read and went for an Earth Power on his Koko, that was very, you know, not good, and he doesn't want to go into Lucha, obviously, because terrain isn't up. He doesn't want to pop his seed or anything like that. As I go for a Dark Pulse right here, his taunt wears off, and he goes for Stealth Rocks. Unfortunately, we're not carrying any removal ourselves this week, so those rocks are up to stay. However, my team isn't very weak to the rocks. The only thing that really doesn't appreciate them is the Hydreigon if I'm pivoting in and out a bunch, but I don't expect that to be happening. So right here, I'm going to try and throw off a third Dark Pulse to potentially knock out this Swampert, as he does go into the Tapu Koko right here, as it takes Rock's Chip, and then we're going to throw off a Dark Pulse. So despite this being resisted, it's still going to do a pretty hefty chunk to this thing. You know, which, you know, I'll definitely take any kind of damage on this thing. As you see, one more Rock Switch in, and we can potentially knock it out with Dark Pulse, which is great if he's not carrying the Roost or something like that. So right here, I'm going to go straight into my, my Diggersby right here, as we see him go for the U-turn, which is unfortunate because we are going to take a pretty fat chunk from this, showing that he might be mixed or, you know, physical based, because that U-turn did a pretty good chunk to our Diggersby right there. We are running a decent amount of HP, regardless of that not being a special hit or anything. He goes into his Ferrothorn right here and takes the Rock Chip, and right here I make a bit of a questionable play, and I go straight for the Fire Punch, not really checking if he's Akka or me kind of just assuming he was Spadef, because if he's Spadef, I always knocked him out after rocks. But we're going to see he's definitely going to live that. He probably is a little bit more Fizz Def, unfortunately, and he's going to throw off the Seed Bomb and knock out our Diggersby very early. So we're down 4-6 pretty early on, which is super unfortunate. However, we do have a lot of chip on the Swampert, a good amount of chip on the Koko, and this Ferrothorn is pretty much as good as dead. So right here, I'm going to go into my Mega Gallade, and I'm just going to throw off my Mega right here, and we're going to go straight for a Drain Punch. There's no reason to overpredict. I don't think he's going to save this thing, as it pretty much, it doesn't necessarily die to rocks, I don't think. Oh, it might be. No, it doesn't. But, you know, it doesn't really have much of a purpose, as we see that he was Drain Punch. I mean, he was Chobble Berry, which I did see in a few mocks and stuff like that. It was definitely a good check to Gallade if you wanted to go for the Gyro Ball, or if you wanted to, like, cripple me with T-Wave or something like that. So definitely a good bring, but I'm glad we did end up chipping it down with the Diggersby, but, you know, like I said, not too nice that we lost that thing. So down goes the Ferrothorn, and out comes the KokoLucha. So right here, I could go for the Zen Headbutt, expecting him to Swords Dance up, but regardless of whether or not he Swords Dance up, I can go straight into my Aegislash and check this thing very well. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go straight down to AG right here, as he elects to go straight for the acrobatic, just trying to take out our Mega Gallade. So we don't really have to play around with 50-50s just yet with our Aegislash. We can kind of just sit there and eat that acrobatics up like it did nothing. We gained pretty much like half the damage we took back with leftovers, which is great. Right here's the terrain wears out, and he's going to go straight for the Swords Dance, which definitely makes a lot of sense. But I'm going to go, protecting maybe us to go for a King Shield, or, knowing that he can always pretty much live one hit from this thing. So right here, I'm going to go for the Shadow Ball and bring this thing down pretty low. We're going to do a fat chunk to this thing. We're going to do a good, 65-70% to it with the Shadow Ball, which is great. We're going to get a little bit of lefties out right here. And this is a big turn. This is a very big 50-50. If he calls my bluff and Swords Dances right here, I probably lose, unless Shadow Sneak happens to knock him out. But with the defense boost, I think he's out of range if he's running any amount of bolt. But we're going to go for the King Shield right here, expecting him to go straight for the Throat Chop, as he does. So we did call that right in prep, that he was going to bring Throat Chop Lucha, and we did get that 50-50 right. If he did call my bluff and Swords Dance right there, game was done. There wasn't much I could do, that the entire game was over. So right here, I can just go straight for the Shadow Ball. As he goes for a Throat Chop, he's back down at neutral after King Shield. You're going to see we absolutely eat that up. Does pretty much next to nothing. And I'm going to go straight for the Shadow Ball, which will definitely knock this guy out. So down goes the KokoLucha after the Shadow Ball hits. So AG definitely did its job showing its worth, why it's a pretty busted mod in the format, to where it took on one of the biggest threats in the format like it was absolutely nothing. Forcing those, mind games and those 50-50s with King Shield, and it's pretty massive special attack stat once it goes into blade form. So right here, he is going to go into his Arcanine, take a nice, good amount of rock shit, but this thing definitely does, scare me out. I can't knock it out in one hit, and it can definitely knock me out if it, goes for Flamethrower when I'm in my blade forms. Right here, I'm just going to switch straight out as he goes into my Hydreigon, as he goes for the Will-O-Wisp, I believe. Expecting us to go for a King Shield, because King Shield doesn't block status. Potentially burning us and chipping us down, negating our leftovers. Definitely a good play on his end, because Fire Stab wasn't doing very much to my my Hydreigon in the long run of things, and close combat would be a pretty risky play if he had it, straight in the face of my Aegislash, which is, very, very good versus him. So right here, I am just going to go straight for a Dark Pulse. I 2-hit KO anything that wants to come in, pretty much, and do a fat chunk to it. So right here, he's just going to sack off his Swampert. So down goes that thing, which is definitely a nuisance to the team. So I will definitely take that guy going down, and we even the game back up. We're ahead 4-3 right now, which is great. Right here is going to go into his Mega Absol, which is definitely a huge threat. I'm going to switch out as I'm locked into Earth Dark Pulse, unfortunately. Even if he goes to a Swords Dance, we're out of range of a +2 sucker with our Hydreigon right here. So I'm going to go straight into my Sylveon right here, as he is going to Mega Evolve with his Mega Absol, the most hot topic Mega of all time. Not my favorite design, that's for sure. But definitely a good Pokemon nonetheless, as it is going to go for the Swords Dance right here. And in my head, I'm thinking, okay, this is fine. I can just throw off a Moonblast and do a huge chunk to anything that comes in. Even the Arcanine, I force it into a turn where it needs to recover. I can switch out and go to Hydreigon and click Earth Power and knock something out. But unfortunately, I'm not very smart, and I forgot this thing on Iron Tail. If I remembered it got Iron Tail, I probably would have brought in Babiri and prep, but I completely forgot. It's not that I, didn't think it would come, it's that I didn't know it would come because I forgot it was a move that Absol got, unfortunately. So down goes our Sylveon right there, and this Absol is so much more of a threat now that we don't have a switch into it whatsoever. It can kind of just click knock off and then play rough and pretty much win the game. So we do have to keep our Hydreigon, around and healthy. As right here, he's going to go into his Koko, make a very nice play. I went for the Draco Meteor because unfortunately, after Rocks, he was not in range of an Earth Power, or I definitely would have gone for that. He needs one more switch in and a switch in after that in order to be in range of that. So unfortunately, he goes into the Koko, makes a nice play as we go for the Draco. And then right here, he's just going to throw off his Z right here. His Electrium Z, so he did bring Z Koko, and that is going to sack off our, I'm going to sack off our Gallade, as it doesn't really serve a purpose here anymore, unfortunately. It could potentially, hit the Arcanine, sub up on a Will-O-Wisp or something like that, but I believe it is the most expendable member, because Aegislash can still live a hit from pretty much everything on his team, which is, very, very nice. So we are just going to let our Gallade go down. and we are losing 2-3 right now, which is very, very unfortunate and very scary. So right here, we're going to go into our H-slash. Like I said, we can live any one hit that this thing wants to go for, especially now that he's popped Z. I know he can't knock us out like that. He's going to go for the U-turn right here and pivot on out. And I believe I just throw off a secret sword right here, trying to catch his choke, honestly. If he wanted to go into the Absol. Unfortunately, he goes into his Arcanine, which is unfortunate because we could have potentially 2-hit KO'd this thing or knocked it out with a crit with Shadow Ball. But you're going to see right here that this Secret Sword does pretty much absolutely nothing, unfortunately, which is pretty terrifying. Because this Arcanine can kind of just, heal up versus us, no problem. It definitely outspeeds us. We are not running nearly enough speed. I don't think we can in a million years ever outpace an Arcanine, whether or not he's running any speed or not. So right here, I am going to go for a Protect, or a King Shield, just expecting him to want to heal up or go for the Flamethrower and attack. I don't think he's going to go for Will-O-Wisp with me still having Hydreigon in the back. He does go for the Flamethrower right here, which is pretty nice, letting us get a little bit of left use recovery back. I do want to stay out of range of a neutral knockoff from the Mega Absol if I can, because we can always revenge that thing with Secret Sword or something like that. As right here, he's going to go for the Morning Sun. I stayed and clicked Shadow Ball because he was potentially in range of that plus Shadow Sneak if he decided to go for the Flamethrower, and we definitely live that. But he does make the good play, and he does go for the Morning Sun, just getting himself back up, to a decent amount of health. The Shadow Ball also does put him in range of an Earth Power from my Hydreigon. So no matter what, I was going to click Shadow Ball right there because we still did a huge chunk to him, put him in range, and if he decided to go for the Flamethrower right there, trying to, do damage to us, then we could have, potentially 2-hit KO'd him right there, which would have been great, which would have been absolutely amazing. But right here, I am going to go into my my Hydreigon, as he goes for the Will-O-Wisp right here, trying to catch our King Shield, so that's just AG forcing more and more mind games, just, trying to play around the King Shield is very, very obnoxious. I'm glad I don't have to do it. I'm glad I'm the one clicking the King Shield. So right here, he is going to switch out, as I can throw off a pretty free Earth Power. It knocked out the Arcanine from that range. Definitely knocked out this Koko, and it 2-hit KO'd the Absol regardless. So right here, he's going to go into his Koko and sack that guy off, as we are able to knock it out. Which is very nice because, like I said, Koko outsped everything on our team besides this Hydreigon. Well, obviously, because, we're Choice Scarfed and all that stuff. Oh, I forgot to take the lid off the layout. Oops. But yeah, down goes the Koko. And unfortunately, we're getting down pretty low to where I believe another turn of Burn plus Stealth Rocks would knock us out. So I'm not really going to switch out. He can definitely knock us out with a Sucker Punch potentially. Right here, I'm just going to go for the Earth Power, not allowing him to set up. We actually had, if we got an absolute max roll, we could have knocked him out if he was a if he was a minus def nature. But unfortunately, we don't get that roll. Even if he was minus def, I don't think he was because he was Sword Stance. But unfortunately, our Hydreigon goes out and goes down. So this game is looking pretty bleak. However, we can go into our Aegislash right here, and I can knock him out with a Shadow Sneak actually, which is very nice. And potentially beat that Arcanine 1v1 if we get nice and lucky with a crit, or if we win some mind games and outplay him in that way. So down goes the Absol right there, and it comes down to Arcanine versus the Aegislash as the last two mons right here. So out comes the Arcanine, and like I said, this game is looking pretty bleak, but if we can potentially win 50-50s, or if we can, if we can potentially create a Shadow Ball later on or something like that, we can, potentially win. Right here, I am forced to go for the King Shield, though, because we are definitely in range of a Flamethrower on our Blade form. I think it always knocks us out, unless we're, completely full. I think we're just, 91 min or something like that. So we do have to, King Shield up as he makes a good play, realizing that, and going for the Morning Sun. We potentially, honestly, could have won if he went for the Flamethrower right there, so again, the mind game, stuff like that, but he does make a good play, and he gets pretty much back up to completely full, so things are looking pretty bleak for us at this point. At the point we're at right now, we can potentially live 2 Flamethrowers in our Shield form, depending on his investment and all that stuff, as he goes for the Flamethrower right here, and you're going to see it does a fat chunk, so he definitely has at least a little bit of investment, because no investment, I believe, did 51% max or something like that to my 80 spread. And right here, I'm going to go for the Shadow Ball, and we're going to see that this unfortunately isn't even a 2-hit KO. However, if we do get like a crit right here in a Shadow Sneak, we could potentially knock him out, or we can potentially Shadow Ball him right here into a crit and knock him out like that. So right here, I am just going to Shadow Ball again. Even in my shield form, I die to a Flamethrower. And right here, you know, Mind Games help us out again as he goes for the Will-O-Wisp, trying to get Sun Chip on us, expecting us to King Shield, as we don't. And like I said, we died to a Flamethrower regardless of whether or not he, you know, we were in shield form or not. So right here, we actually do get the Shadow Ball off, and it's looking like we lose this game regardless. But again, like I said, if we can get like a crit on the Arcanine, he has like no defense investment. We can potentially win this game if we get like a max roll crit or something like that. As we're gonna go for it, and it's gonna do absolutely nothing. So right here, he is going to go. Sorry, a little preemptive. He goes for the Morning Sun, which I guess was a very safe play. I don't think he necessarily needed to, because he always knocked me out with the Flamethrower. There's in no world does he ever, you know, not do that from the range I'm at. So right here, we're gonna get a little bit of leftovers recovery right back, but it just goes right back down with the burn. And then right here, he is going to go for the Flamethrower. I'm not going to King Shield. There's no point in dragging this out anymore. Unfortunately, we are going to lose 1-0 in Week 1 to the Arkansas Razorbacks, which is unfortunate, but it was definitely a really, really good game. So I am very happy with that one, how that one turned out. You know, it was a pretty fun. I wouldn't say it was like a tough matchup for me, but I definitely don't think it was in one way either way. So I definitely had a lot of fun playing this game. GG's to JB. I think this was, like I said, a lot of fun. Hopefully we can bounce back next week and pick up a W, and hopefully get some momentum swinging on our way as the season goes forward. But yeah, if you guys did enjoy the battle, be sure to, you know, subscribe, like, all that stuff, just so you can catch them as they go up. And thank you guys so much for watching. Later.